because of my disability that I suffered from a motorcycle accident at the age of 18, I only have use of one hand. I said, we could get a paddle shifter in this car. I'm definitely interested.
That was your first time actually driving on slick.
I'm not there to prove a point. I'm not there to get a seat in some professional. I just wanted to drive the car.
Number 61, Toyota GR is leading.
James Klimas from Skip Barber Racing, the one-handed racer.
We adapt and we keep doing what we love, no matter what it is.
Welcome back to episode 4 of Full Grip. We have a very, very special guest today, one of our own, one of the very famous Skip Barber Racing drivers. We get to share a lot of time with this Mr. James Klimas. James, thank you so much for sharing some time with us today. I could go on and on about, who you are and what you mean to us, but at the end of the day, I just want to thank you for right now for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So, there's definitely so much we want to talk about and so much we want to unpack. I think one of the biggest things that is kind of like really what inspires me the most about you is that you drive a very, very custom car designed by Toyota themselves. I just kind of want to jump into that right away. Like, what's that been like from the beginning of your racing career? And maybe if you want to share a little bit about your story to begin with, how that is.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was at a national dealer meeting that they have yearly for all Toyota dealers in Las Vegas, Akio Toyota himself revealed the GR Cup car that was going on 3 years ago, right before or right during the first inaugural season. So I had gotten connected with some TOD guys who were also at the meeting and told one of them that knows my family well. I said, I'm interested. I was actually sitting next to him during the presentation when Akio presented the vehicle on stage. And I nudged him and I said, I'm interested, but because of my disability that I suffered from a motorcycle accident at the age of 18, I only have use of one hand. He knew this. And I said, I'm in, but I can't use the hand shifter. I said, we could get a paddle shifter in this car. I'm definitely interested. So he, fast forward, he connected me with some TRD people. TRD was awesome. They flew me out to their headquarters in North Carolina, had a roundtable discussion about which is the best way to go to implement a paddle shift, or even they had all types of different ideas, the engineers did. So we ultimately ended up with a bidirectional paddle shift for the car that was pneumatically actuated. And they did a lot of R&D on it, and it came out. The car was finished that year or the following year, for the very last race in Indy of 23. So I was able to participate in that race. Had literally, the car was done 2 weeks before the race. So I had one track day in Virginia. I got to drive the actual car. I did a lot of training and practice and track days with a production automatic 86 that I had put both paddles on the same side to mimic a paddle shift setup. So fast forward to that, I had a track day at VIR, did a day there, and then got thrown into Indy. When I got to Indy, I was doing the track walk with my father, and I said, I've been practicing the wrong layout on iRacing the whole time. I was grinding the whole week prior, practicing on iRacing, getting ready for this big day. And I was walking the track. I'm like, oh, I was practicing that over there.
You're going in, like on the right-hand turn coming out of 3.
Yeah, I was practicing like the wrong layout for sure, the wrong turns for sure. So got thrown in there, basically thrown into the deep end, not even knowing how to swim at that point. And it was a very steep learning curve. I was definitely obviously not up to speed. The competition, like the person to my right, it's very, very talented competition. Guys are fast and a very stout group. So at that particular time, I was more worried about not being in people's ways and just trying to learn how to drive the car versus actually racing. But it was quite the experience, and especially to have it at the iconic, Brickyard Indianapolis Grand Prix track was amazing.
I remember that race so specifically because aside from everything, I think that was your first time actually driving on slicks outside of just the race in general. And I remember that being a big highlight. Just when I was speaking to people around the paddock, they were like, "Hey, that's actually his first time ever driving on slicks, his first race." I didn't know about everything else, right? Like I didn't know about you literally driving that car with one hand with on one side of the wheel. Everything else, the fact that you were just out there just racing on slicks for the first time was already like everybody was kind of shocked that you were still staying so close to the rest of the pack. It was in general still the rest of the conversation. I didn't know about any of the rest of your story until I was on the flight back home. It was actually my first SRO race that we were shooting for after Sebring. And I was on the flight back home, and you have a good friend that was on that flight. I'm not sure if I can remember his name. I know I follow him on Instagram, and he was flying back to Florida. His Instagram is like Doc Sanyo.
Oh, well, Brian. Sorry, Toscani.
Brian.
Good friend Brian. I had a big crowd there, so I didn't know which one you were talking about, but I had a lot of people come to that first race. So yeah, one of my very good friends, Brian, I grew up with. Yep.
Yeah, Brian. So Brian was on the flight back home, and Brian saw me wearing a GR hat, and we started talking about it. And then Brian told me the rest of your story, and I was like, "There's no way." I was like, "There's no way," because like that was your first time driving on slicks on a modified car, and like the race went so well. Like it's not like you were struggling to get the car across the finish line. So I think it was incredible just to see that. And then I remember us talking a lot about Skip Barber after that. But even that race, I remember we went and visited the Skip Barber trailer towards the end. And I don't know if you remember this, Alex, but we were like, when we got there, we were talking to Joe, and James was kind of just plopped down there on one of the foldable chairs that were like there just talking to us. And I don't remember if it was like a chair from a car or like a chair that was already pulled out there, but they were packing everything up. And that's where we met James. I don't know if you remember that, but that was like our first interaction ever. So that was
talking to Joe.
I remember meeting Alex and his brother Michael, and they were talking with Joe at the end of that weekend, and kind of met both you guys, shook hands, and said looking forward to being teammates next season.
Mind you, that was before anything was official, but the buzz was already happening, because on my flight back home, Brian was actually the one that told me, "Hey, so we hear there's 2 guys joining us next year," and I was like, I think I know which 2 guys you're talking about. But that was really exciting. I mean, definitely a heck of a season. And then I think those single event entries like Indy are just so special because of that, because you get to see all this new talent join and stuff like that can happen. But before motorsports and before the GR86, because obviously there's a path that follows that and where you are today and what you're doing this season, before the GR86, well, how did you even think about motorsports? Like, were you ever in any other sort of racing or any sort of other competitive driving like that?
Driving, no. A hobby of my family and mine that I grew up doing, I was privileged to grow up doing, was recreational snowmobiling. We had a small house in southern Vermont. We originally just started trailering out there and staying at motels, and eventually bought a small house. And there's a lot of ski areas in southern Vermont, Mount Snow. And at that time, Mount Snow had a sister mountain called Haystack, and they had snowmobile races there. And I was 12 years old, and it was snowcross races, just like motocrosses, dirt bikes. So I was like 12 years old, and I was like, "Dad, look, I saw an ad somewhere maybe at the restaurant or wherever." I'm like, "Dad, let's go watch." So we went and watched and froze our ass off on some frozen snowbank watching these snowmobiles go over jumps and bumps and racing. And I was like, "That's pretty cool." I was like, "I want to try to do that." And my father was like, "Are you sure? Like, it's going to be a big commitment." And I'm like, I was 12 years old. I want to do it. So I started doing that. Was an experienced rider even at that age, just from the land that we had behind our house and getting snow and playing around in the recreational world of snowmobiling. And then did that until I was 18 years old, until I got into the motorcycle accident when I was unable to ride competitively anymore. I still love to ride, made modifications to my snowmobile where the brake is on the same side as the throttle. On a snowmobile, the brake's on the left side. Throttle's on the right on the handlebars. So with this injury that I suffered, I don't let it be an excuse. All we do is adapt. We still do everything that we love to do. Just got to do it a different way. It was a difficult time to be in and to adjust from, but it didn't let it define me. So did that racing until I was physically unable to, because that was a very, very demanding sport. And
Yeah, very taxing on the body. It's very tough.
but after that, there was no other competitive stuff really. I was always a Formula One fan. I liked IndyCar. We attended some NASCAR races, but I was more into the Formula One and IndyCar scene specifically, just for the different tracks and how different people do different better depending on the different tracks and cars. And I like the IndyCar and Formula One scene a lot. So
For sure.
Did
I
you
mean, that's.
um,
Go ahead, Alex.
ever consider doing Formula Car instead of GT cars, or did you just hop straight into the GR because of your Toyota connection and the dealership and everything?
the Toyota connection
Like
definitely
it definitely
helped.
helps.
Definitely helped jumpstart the interest. I never really looked into. I mean, I've always been a sports car guy. I love sports cars, but I never even looked into like track days. I mean, we did dumb stuff on the streets when I was younger, but I just like cruising car meets and stuff like that. I've always liked sports cars. Formula cars are definitely cool, but I never even thought about jumping down that rabbit hole of even trying to be competitive or even track days until Toyota really got involved with the sports car racing. I knew the to get into circle track racing through the Toyota world, you basically kind of like Formula One. You got to be driving carts and cars since you were in diapers if you want to work your way up the NASCAR ladder. So,
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. But I think it's so cool that like you mentioned something super important. And it's that even though you had the injury, like you never let that stop you from doing what you loved. But I mean, obviously, there has to be a point in your life where you had to make that decision where either you were going to let it kind of stop you or you were just going to keep doing it. Do you remember at all what that looked like for you personally? Was there ever a moment you can recall where you were like, I don't want to keep doing this, or like it's either I can figure out a way to do it and keep doing what I love or just give up now?
I mean, yeah, I was at a very difficult time. I mean, I shouldn't say difficult. I should say a very pivotal and important time in my life at 18 years old, and you're just figuring out who you are, and to live the prior 17 years of my life as a able-bodied individual, and all of a sudden, luckily I wasn't left-handed, but all of a sudden I couldn't use my left arm or hand. It was, I'm not going to lie, though, there was definitely some depression times and a harsh adjustment period to realize that, like, because there was probably a good year or more that we didn't know if this was going to be permanent or not. We attempted surgeries, so it was a kind of the roller coaster effect where it's like, oh, maybe I could use it again, and then then finding out that we got the surgery and cross our fingers, and then time would go by and there would be no results. So that was definitely disheartening and depressing at times to realize that come to the realization that this is the way it is until the medical technology really moves along, because it's a pretty rare injury. It's not like it affects millions of people like cancer, and they're chomping at the bit to fix this injury. It's a nerve damage in my shoulder. All the nerves got torn out of my left shoulder and resulted in paralyzed arm because I was on my motorcycle and had gotten hit from another vehicle, and obviously thrown from the bike. And I've met people that have had similar injuries, and some people have recovered from them with full movement, limited movement, and no movement. It's really case specific about how bad the injury is and how bad the nerves are. So yeah, it was very difficult at times for sure. And I didn't decide to really come out of that cloudiness for quite a few years. I was probably mid-20s at that point where I was like, all right, it's time to join the real world, and this isn't I'll not let this define me. I want to be part of the real world, have a real job, live a real life, and do all the hobbies that I love to do.
Yeah. I think some of the most I always get excited when I see you at the track. Any of the the Skip Barber guys or any of the guys that typically were around. Is that the famous
I know that
Joe?
guy.
Oh, God. I want a live.
Yes,
I want a live broadcast right now.
I know that guy.
Guest
Oh my
appearance.
Wait a minute. When I decide I'm going to go race the 86, you're going to have to be my teacher.
Sir.
That guy?
That guy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You'll have your own featured episode on the podcast too.
We will. We'll have Joe on the podcast. He has to be on the podcast. So I think one of the most, obviously I get really excited to see all you guys at the track at any time. But one of the more like pivotal moments that like really moved me a lot is whenever you guys are signing autographs and I see somebody with similar like accidents or stuff like that, and they're motorsports fans, and they come up to you and they stay there talking to you for a while, because I think you inspire so many people, probably more than more than that people that actually come up to you and say stuff. But there's so many people that maybe are in similar positions where they're like, they're fans of the sport and they can never see themselves actually ever getting into it because of their limited opportunity. And I think that you just serve as such an inspiration for people like that, and even maybe not with the same position that you're in, but like even if they just have something of the sorts, and they just feel limited, and I think you serve as an inspiration for people to just think so much further than just like where their current condition is. And so keep being that, man. I mean, you really are an inspiration for a lot of people, whether you know it or not. People that have come up to you, but aside from that, people that just respect you from the distance. Maybe they're too shy to approach you, or like they just watch you online. So super, super, super moved by your story. I mean, and I think with the sensitiveness of motorcycle accidents, the fact that you're here, that could have gone either which way, so I think that's awesome. And then moving forward, obviously you went from that last race of the season to now 2024, you did a full seat in GR. So outside of that first race, you jumped into the next, season, same GR86, but this time, obviously you had a great year. There were a few races I remember you were a little more frustrated than others, but you overall had a very strong year. The car came out brand new. Aside from a few minor frustrations, could you tell me a little bit about your 2024 season and what it was like for you to jump back in that seat?
It was definitely, there was a lot of ups and a lot of downs. I mean, this the season getting thrown in. I was still very inexperienced. Obviously, not I was fighting with myself when the car was performing well. To my knowledge, I was fighting with my own internal skill level issue, and sometimes getting frustrated with myself. I mean, Skip Barber was great and a lot of track time. Besides being at the race weekends, so I did get a lot of seat time, practice time, but again, still up against some very, very stiff competition, some very talented people, and to try to compare myself to was difficult. I found myself also, though, it was fun. I do think that's one cool thing about the GR Cup is even though there is such a high skill level, there's a wide breadth of skill as well. So you have people with less experience who are doing it more or less for fun, and a little bit older than the kids running up top. But I mean, I found myself kind of fighting with those guys, going back and forth. So no matter what, I don't want to say no matter what your skill level, but basically no matter what your skill level is, as long as it's some type of skill level, the GR Cup is great because there's so many competitors in it, and the skill level is, that deep.
Yeah, you
So,
always have a competition wherever you are on the field.
Yeah, yeah. So I did become friendly with those guys I was fighting with because we weren't out there, shooting for blood. We were out there having fun. So I was friendly with those guys that we were playing with. We raced clean, and I'd go find them after the race afterwards. And whether they finished above me, past me, or I passed them, we were always friendly with each other, and it was good. But the season as a whole was difficult because of the modifications Toyota was generous enough to engineer and design for me. With the vehicle, there was an issue with the programming on the computer where I ended up having multiple engine failures throughout the year, and Toyota was awesome. They were on it. They helped us change the motor. They supplied the engines, and they did a lot of R&D to try to figure out what parameters that were being changed messed with having these engine failures. And it was to the point where it was kind of unfixable. Toyota really didn't know what else they could do. So that's I didn't really want to go into this season in the GR Cup with my car specifically again and go through 4 engines, and because I literally blew a motor every other weekend, every other race. So I didn't want to go into this year like that. It was fun. I did it for a year, and if the car was reliable, I would have done it, but not in that state. So once I heard news about the GR Corolla, I let Toyota know I was somewhat interested in it. I did not know what it was going to be like as far as shifting, transmission goes. But once they sent me the schematic of the steering wheel and that it was going to be bi-directional paddle shift steering wheel equipped and connected to their automatic DAT, which is now available in this year's GR Corolla, direct automatic transmission, I was like, all right, I'm definitely in. But it's because both paddles, there's still two paddles on the steering wheel, and the right one goes up and down, and the left one goes up and down as well. So I told Toyota, I said, so you mean I could drive this car without us having to make any modifications to this car, because I don't want to go monkeying with the car and then run into the same issues that we ran into last year. Because that, as much fun as I had, it was not fun all the time, and not for the price of travel in the car and everything like that. So they're like, no, you could drive it. That's the way we're building all these cars, not just one for you. And I'm like, well, then count me in. So here we are. Fast forward to 2025 in a GR Corolla and a brand new car and a brand new series, TC America series, that also got modified to put all the TC series into one group. So
fast forwarding to today, right? This weekend that just passed, we're at Sonoma. You're going out in the Corolla GR, and obviously, like, thanks to the yeah, it's too soon. James, you're just gonna hear him log off. So thanks to the modification, obviously not having to modify the car, through some issues that you had with the car, you were able to just jump laterally to another car without them having to make any changes. So can you talk a little bit about this weekend that just passed?
Yeah, so I was pumped. I was like, all right, this car's going to be reliable. It's a GR Corolla. I've driven one for over a year, never had any issues. I drive one personally. I've had multiple. I had a circuit when it came out, and drive a Maurizio now. Very, very. I've never had any issues with these cars, right? I'm like, this car's reliable. This engine's built by Toyota. This is a full Toyota product. It's not a Subaru. It's not a BMW. Not that there's anything against the 86 or the Supra. They're both great production cars, driven both of them for extended periods of time. But I was pumped because it was a Toyota, fully Toyota built car, and I'm a Toyota guy, obviously. So I was like, this car's gonna be reliable, no issues, and go out there, have some fun. Like, I don't even care how I place or how the cars stack up. I just want to go out there and have some fun and keep up with the other manufacturers that are in the TC group, and maybe be on pace with the other Corollas in the group. So we're out there. I think it was practice 2. I was out there. Practice 1 rained. Practice 2, I think, was rain-ish, like misting still, and coming down to turn number 9, a little chicane, and I see one of the other Corollas. There was 3 that were finished built this year, 3 at the races this past weekend, and I see one off in the grass on the right, and I look and I'm like, oh, underneath the car's on fire. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So didn't know what caused the fire. I finished that practice session, was fine. Was having some type of shifting issues with the car. Sometimes the car wouldn't want to shift for whatever reason, but I had those symptoms in practice 1. Did not have those symptoms in practice 2. So I was looking forward to qualifying after practice 2. Was not having the same shifting issues that I experienced before. Qualifying, didn't talk to the other team about what happened with the car. Qualifying 1 went out. Shifting issues came back. Sometimes the car would want to shift up. Sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would lunge forward and downshifts, kind of scary in a braking zone when the car, when you go to downshift it and it lunges forward. It gives, I don't know, there was some issues, right? So I was fighting those issues, hoping they would get better. I didn't pull off the track because it wasn't every single shift that it was having issues, and it did get better in P2 and practice 2. So I was like, all right, maybe it'll get better. I stayed out for the whole qualifying session, and I was on a good lap. Last lap of the qualifying session, I was on what do they call it in Formula One? I was on a flyer. I don't know. I was on a flyer. The dashboard was green by a good amount. I was happy, and I had a good qualifying time. Last corner, right before the finish line, second gear corner, trying to shift out of second, just would not shift out of second gear. Would not go to third gear. I'm like, let off the gas, get back on the gas, try to shift a little easier. Nope, nothing. Then all of a sudden, I thought the car went into limp mode because of some electronic issue. I look in the mirror and I see smoke behind me. I'm like, oh my God, blew another motor. I know this feeling all too well. I'm like, there goes my weekend. I was very frustrated because I had a good lap going. I was in a car that I was excited to be in, that was going to be more reliable. So it's very, very much a roller coaster ride again. I'm all too familiar with those roller coaster rides, and I hate roller coasters. I don't get it. The car. I was like, blew a motor. So I've blown plenty of motors, obviously, since last year. I'm like, I'm just gonna coast, get off the racing line in case there's oil coming off, coast until there's somewhere safe to pull off. The car was still idling. That's why I thought it went into limp mode. It was still running. So I pull off the track exit, stop the car slowly, and then all of a sudden, there's not smoke behind me anymore. There's smoke coming out from underneath the hood. And I'm like, oh, crap, maybe I should get out a little bit quicker. And I was planning, I was probably just going to mosey out there and, kick rocks for a little bit. And I wouldn't throw my helmet or anything, but I was very frustrated. But so I had to hop out the car because the car was definitely on fire. The engine bay was on fire. The motor blew, put a hole in the block right next to the axle boot. Didn't lose any oil, but all the axle grease went over all over the exhaust manifold and in turn catching on fire. Medical crew obviously was great. They were right there. They sprayed it down. There was no smoke in the cabin or anything. I was able to get out unscathed, but very frustrating that literally the very next session after one blew up, and then that's when I went and talked to the team, and they had the same issues. So I guess power level was turned up a little too high in these little curls to try to keep up with the Hyundais and the Acura that Michael's brother was in. Michael was right there fighting with the Hyundais. It was enjoyable to watch him right there in the fight. But Corollas were not up to pace with them, and they had turned up the boost a little too much apparently, and bad things happened. So Toyota stepped in. They brought one motor, which was already going to the JMF car that I saw on fire this session before, and they said, listen, we already had a motor, and it's going in that car. We only have one motor here this weekend. And Toyota got that motor in that day for them to get them racing the very next day. They were like, we'll put you in the prototype car that we brought here that we did all the testing on in GR Corolla. He said, we brought it here for display, but it could be ready for the race for you tomorrow. They didn't have to do that. That was great. I was sitting there thinking my weekend's shot, so they definitely they transferred all the electronics over, helped out next morning to get me out for race number 1 the very next day in their prototype car, which says a lot about Toyota. Their support's great, and they wanted me to drive the car. They felt bad. They knew what the issue was. They turned down the other cars on the power levels a little bit to get them to run more reliably. No shifting issues with a lower power level. Yeah, we weren't as fast as the competition anymore, but they weren't blowing things up. We were still, a second or two a lap off the pace of the other cars in the field, which is a lot, but we were still out there. It was the very first race for this brand new platform, so I was very happy to get out there in their prototype and actually have a good week.
For sure. No, I think it was an incredible race nonetheless. It was an incredible race weekend to see those cars out there with the Hyundais and the Acura. Michael's car is the only Honda on the paddock, interestingly enough. So that's going to be interesting for him this year, and it's going to be fun to see what the series. Yeah, it's going to be fun to see what the series does with like the entire field, right? To try to like keep things leveled, because the Corollas definitely have what it takes to keep up, but at the cost of the engines being put at risk. So for sure, going to be interesting to see what the series does to kind of level the playing field in this next race and see what you guys do at COTA, because that's an interesting track for that car too, because of the way it can take corners. So that's going to be super fun. Nonetheless, still super, super good on Toyota to be able to move you into another car that quickly, for sure. So, but yeah. You've mentioned several times you are a Toyota man. You are born and raised in Toyota. Can you talk a little bit about family owned and operated Middletown Toyota? It's probably the most exciting thing I've been waiting to ask you about, because like obviously you've driven a Toyota your entire career. A Toyota franchise is probably the most, like, I would say probably one of the most exciting franchises to be a part of and to have as a store. So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about when the operation started? Talk a little bit about Middletown Toyota and what you guys are up to right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I won't be as long and drawn out as the race weekend recaps and yearly recaps, but long story short, in 1975, my grandfather had the opportunity to get into a Toyota franchise. It was actually with a family member of his. I believe it was his cousin, and my grandfather was from the auto body world. He fixed cars. He owned a collision center in Hartford, Connecticut. And that's what my father did. And my grandfather wanted nothing to do with the retail world, didn't want to sell cars, didn't want to do anything like that. He just wanted to fix up crash bins. That's what he knew. That was his bread and butter. That's what he knew best. But he was basically he got in as a partner with his cousin. His cousin ran the store for the first year or two. Maybe it was only for the first year, and he was just a partner, still ran his auto body dealership. not dealership, auto body collision center. The cousin ran the place basically into the ground, is the story that I've been told. They were in the red. We couldn't even make payroll. It was bad. My grandfather threw my father in there. He said, go fix your uncle's or cousin's problems, and we're going to sell the place because I don't want nothing to do with it, and it's losing money right now. Get the place out of the red, and we're selling it. So my father got thrown in there, not knowing anything about the car world besides repairing cars as an auto body guy. That's what he was raised doing. And here we are 50 years later this year. My father was, had to basically work his way up, not from nothing, but from less than nothing, in the red, losing money. There was, I'm sure there's stories of times where, he would make sacrifices just to pay his people. He wouldn't take $1 out of the store, I think, for the first year plus years, just to make sure that his people were paid, bills were paid, and the store was starting to run at a profit and efficiently. So he's basically school of hard knocks. He's done it all here, and I'm happy to be a part of it. We're 50-year anniversary this year, and my whole family is here. My mother is the controller here. My sister is office manager. My brother's a used car manager. I started. My brother and sister started here very young. I was in diapers, riding my bike around the place, playing around. This was my home. I'm actually, very ironically, this particular area I'm in right now is just a little computer office, but this is connected to my father's office that I walked out of, as you probably heard. This was a nursery built for me to have my crib in here while my parents were at work. And now it's just a computer storage office, but no lie, that's where there was a window to my left behind me, because this was a nursery for me. Had a crib in here, and just so my parents still went to work and were able to kind of throw me in here. I played around, whatever, and didn't have to go to daycare, hire a nanny or nothing, because they couldn't, couldn't really afford it at the time. It was very difficult, even when I was born 20 years into it. The car business had its ups and downs, and Toyota definitely wasn't what it is today. 20, 30 years ago, people looked down upon Toyota, 20, 30, 40 years ago. They looked down on the imports because everyone was, gung-ho on, domestic vehicles, Chevy, Ford, and Toyota was shunned upon. But Toyota's great now. And their involvement, when Toyota decides to do something like the GR Cup or getting into racing, when they decide to do something, they decide to do it, they're all in. They do it right. And I can't speak for the reliability of their production vehicles and just their dealer involvement and the support on the race side. So I'm very happy to be a part of the Toyota family.
That's phenomenal. It's definitely very exciting to see, and obviously how far the dealership. Are we ever going to see Mama Klimas at a race?
Yeah, my mother's actually she's right back there. She was eating lunch in this conference room behind me. Yeah, no, she went to, I think she did Indy. Obviously, I wasn't with you guys at Indy, and I think she went to Sebring last year with my sister. I think she did Florida, my mother. But it's kind of like how I feel when I go to a Formula One race. It's cool to go there in person, but it's almost better to watch it on TV. I'm sure she probably feels the same way. She kind of doesn't know what to do when she's there, and like you should go watch the track. Like what does a mom do when their kid's not on track? So I completely understand why. Obviously she still has a job. She's still very active at the dealership. So she's an accountant here, a controller, and has a lot of duties, especially just the way the race weekends fall is. We live and die month to month here. We have to do financial statements every month, and she handles that. So a lot of the ones that she would like to go to, she still couldn't make just because of her work obligations. But she's very supportive either way. But I understand how she would feel. She kind of feels like she's out of her element when she's there, and it's probably much more comfortable. And I don't blame her one bit, because I'm the same way. When I go to, I went to a Formula One race in Miami. I'm like, I went inside the stadium and watched it on the Megatron. I said, I can't see these guys. I'm standing on top of a parking garage. I can't see these cars wing by, and then they're gone.
I feel the same way sometimes. I prefer to watch the race on the TV than in person. Like you see the flyby, and that's it. You're like, okay, now what? For 2 minutes you gotta wait and just stare. Like, and my mom is the same way. Anytime she's ever came to the track, I've either ended up on the wall or in the back of an ambulance or something. So it really doesn't help,
No.
making her come to the track. So she's like, I'm going to stay home. I'll watch it from the TV, and barely. and like she still has like a full panic attack watching me on TV.
Sure.
She really does. She has some serious problems watching me on TV. She gets really anxious, but she
As
gets,
as any good parent would, I get it. Yeah, 100%.
For sure. So you run a full operation, and then you have to step away for race weekends. Is it tough to be away? Do you feel like you get interrupted at all while you're away on race weekends, or do you feel like you've nailed it to where like you're able to kind of step away from the operation and still feel comfortable?
Well, I'll throw another thing into the mix. I shouldn't call it a thing. I have a son who will be 2 this June. So if the timeline went, I wanted to become a race car driver. Then I was expected to be a father and have a son very soon after. And then I was a sales manager at that time. So if you heard my father earlier and how he is, he's very old school. And the conversation was, I was dreading having the conversation. He already knew I was having a son, and we were getting very close to the due date. And I was still the new car sales manager doing normal job. And so the conversation, I was dreading having it. And I was like, by the way, Dad, because I have to do less. And by the way, I need to get paid more. So he's so old school. He's like, what? He goes, so what are you going to actually do? I'm like, well, Dad, I can't be a sales manager and work 60, 70 hours a week and have a son at the same time. Like, my wife's going to need some help in recovery. Like, I don't know what. I said, I'll do whatever you don't want to do, Dad. I said, we got to put somebody in my seat now, like sales manager. We got to put someone in that seat, and I'll do whatever the heck you don't want to do. I said, because I need to do, obviously, I want to work for you and I want to do something, but I can't do what I'm doing right now. And my wife's going to be out of work for a while. She wanted to stay at home with our son for the first 2 years, and I fully supported that. So he was like, "What? What? So what the hell are you actually going to do?" That was a fun conversation. So it was good friends of mine were like, "So you want to become a race car driver? Okay, and run a dealership and and you got a baby on the way and be a dad at the same time." I'm like, "Yeah."
yeah.
So very difficult balancing act for sure. I think that's where a lot of my frustration came from last year, is being out on the track. I just felt I was frustrated with myself first and foremost, because I felt like I was going into these weekends underprepared. You know what I mean? And there's nothing worse than being out there and not knowing the track that well, or feeling like a fish out of water, and just being upset with yourself because you didn't delegate or dedicate the time to better prepare yourself mentally for the weekend ahead, whether that be weeks, months prior, whatever. That was my biggest difficulty last year, was balancing those 3 things. Learned a lot from it, and I chose this year to still working just as much, but I chiseled out some time to actually get some time on the simulator and prepare myself better for these weekends. So I go into these weekends with a better mindset. There'd be so many weekends last year I was going out and I was just frustrated just because I was just so unprepared, and I just felt like it's like when you get a pop quiz at school and you were supposed to read the book 2 days prior, but you didn't even touch it. It's like that kind of feeling where you're like, oh man, like I'm gonna bomb this. That's exactly how a lot of my weekends felt last year, and it showed in my times and my results. I did do good, and I got better as the season went on, as I got more experience. But this year, I definitely dedicate more time prior to leaving for these race weekends, so I could go into it with a better mindset and be more prepared for these track events, because it's not just like a normal go have fun track day weekend. These people it's a serious race, and there's serious dangers that come with it, and the competition is stiff no matter what class you're in.
Right. No, for sure. And I think that you've definitely navigated all of that very well. Through the course of the end of the season, obviously, we all saw like some of your higher finishes of your races, and going from obviously that frustration. I can recall as early as Road America, you feel seeing you really, really frustrated at the wheel, and then coming back into your next races and just bringing an entirely different approach. So
that's what you think.
Yeah. So it was,
what's that?
So
you brought the dog in you.
So that was fun.
Learn from you. Learn from the best over here.
That was definitely an interesting transition for sure. But outside of that, I mean, stepping away from all that. By the way, we all are waiting for baby James to get into karting. Like everyone is
Oh,
gonna do
dude.
it at his first race whenever he
cooked.
crosses the green flag.
He's cooked. The moment he can start driving, that's it.
Oh yeah.
We know who that 86 is going to.
Yeah,
We
no,
know
I'll
that
be-
it's gonna sit.
I never want to push anything on my son, but I'm definitely going to be supportive of whatever he wants to do within reason, obviously. But I mean, he loves the race cars, any cars, or even bikes. Because we ride, he just like dad. Any race car he sees, dad. He absolutely loves it. He's got his own little, He's got little balance bikes, and he rips around, dude. He loves being at the races. He loves the race cars. I look forward to giving him, as any parent would say, giving him the opportunities that they might have not had growing up. So I had a great childhood. I have no regrets or no remorse for anything for how I was raised. But that's what any parent wants to do, is to give their kid more than what they had growing up. So I can't wait to see where he wants to go and what he wants to do, and I'll be right there, obviously, behind him. But karting would be very cool. I didn't get into anything like that. I was a normal kid. I rode bicycles around the neighborhood and played video games. You know what I mean? But if he wants to get into something like that, as long as he's behaving and his grades are good and all those, we could go play. So
That's exciting to see. I mean, and as the incredible father you are, we all know you don't push anything on him, but we see him at the track and the way he gets crazy around the cars and wants to be in the seat with you and all that good stuff. That was a fun era too. I remember you used to drive that thing back from data until they started.
You can't say that. That was against the rules. I almost got yelled at.
Until they started cranking down on you for it, but it was a fun little era.
Yeah, no, come to data download. He'd always be there cheering me on. I wanted to hop in the car, so turn the fire bottle off, obviously, and then I'd let him hop in with me. But yeah, one time I forgot what race it was at. I don't know. I think it was Road America. And they were like, no more. Sorry, you're not really supposed to be doing that. And it's cute and all, but no. I'm like, all right.
It's cute and all. So outside of that, I mean, obviously, father, business manager, and race car driver. How do you consolidate all of that and prepare yourself mentally? And what kind of routine do you have before you head out to a race weekend or during a race weekend?
I mean, my wife and I are on very different schedules, and I appreciate her for working with my schedule. She's at home, and I'm at work. But in the morning, she'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym. Before I get up for work, I spend some time with my son, and then she'll go home from the gym before I leave for work. But when I get home from work, we obviously put my son to bed, have dinner, whatever. But after that, when she goes to bed, I stay up, usually pretty late, practicing on the sim it's downstairs from where we're at, from the bedroom. So we're kind of on opposite schedules, but the beginning of our relationship, even before we had a son, when she was still working, she worked second shift and I worked first shift. So we know how to work through having opposite schedules, but I basically do all my practice at nighttime. I don't like to fill my weekends with it. I want to give her the chance to do what she'd like to do on the weekend, and obviously most importantly, spend as much time with my son on the weekends since I'm working all week. So I save my practice for nighttime after work, and just practice different cars, different formats on the track that we're going to, AI races if there's not any other actual series at that particular track. But that's pretty much it. And then it really helped going into it the weekend with feeling more prepared, not feeling anxious that you feel underprepared. So that's it. Just grinding away laps and hours on the sim, really, and obviously any seat time that I could get in the actual car, if it's logistically available with the team. Obviously, if everything's all set at work and at home, and I could go get some seat time and do some track days or practice with the car wherever. Obviously, I'm gonna take advantage of that as well.
What's this year look like for you? What are you kind of preparing for this year? What's your goals? What are you most excited about for this season?
I'm not blowing any more motors up. I'm just driving the car. I just trying to drive the car.
Straight to it.
I don't care. First or last, dude. I'm not there to prove a point. I'm not there to get a seat in some professional series. I'm 35 years old. That ship has sailed. The kids nowadays got to be doing this since very young, regardless. So I'm there to basically have fun. So if I could be out there, have fun, be with the field, fighting for position. I don't care if I'm fighting for last place or first place. I'm going to treat it the same and still have fun with it. If the car is reliable, fun to drive, the car is very fun to drive, and I do like driving the car. I think it's an easier car to learn to build your skill level on because obviously I went in as a novice or not experienced at all, just over last year. But still can have fun. Still can have fun, not blowing stuff up, and that's it. Just don't blow anything up. No more smoke. No more smoke.
No more smoke.
No more.
Let's
No
do a
more.
little bit of
Especially no more flames either. No flames. No smoke. I'll be happy.
No flames.
Yeah.
No flames. In parentheses, we unfortunately got to watch the whole thing go down just down the road from me when you were pulling off of pit lane, heading back to the trailer. Me and Alex were in the golf cart heading back to go see, obviously, all the cars come through, see you and Michael get out of there. And then your wife, Sydney, literally, like, just completely cut us off. She was turning and
on the hill, and we were
like,
going back to the trailer, and all of a sudden, she, like, kind of loops, and she just books it right in front of us. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? And I look to my left, and I see your car, and I just see a go full of flames when they open up the hood. I was like, oh, okay. And then Joe magically is walking by. He looked stressed out of his mind. And then I just added more to the stress. I was like, hey, Joe, James's car is on fire, by the way. He almost started crying. Hops in the golf cart.
He didn't even say anything to us. He's like, oh, got in the golf cart. Literally, like, we didn't tell him, like, where we were going or anything. He literally just got in, and Alex just drove back to you. Like, it definitely was a roller coaster of emotions that weekend in general. Let's do some rapid fire fun here. Really quick. So quick answers, no time to think about it. I'll give you 2 or 3 seconds to give me an answer, but you got this, just the first thing that comes to mind. Favorite race track?
Road America.
Road America. What about you, Alex?
Sebring.
Sebring's a close second for me.
Polar opposites, for sure.
Sebring.
One racing idol or inspiration?
Me first?
No, just you.
Just me? Oh, just my God. One racing idol or inspiration? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd be such a fanboy if I said, like, Max Verstappen. Like, no, Joey Logano. Actually, I'm not a big NASCAR fan, like I said, but Joey Logano is from my hometown. So
really?
Seeing him go grassroots, he's a little bit older than me, roughly the same age as me. Seeing him go grassroots from my hometown, and you know, there's so many fans with his stickers and license plate frames and stuff from my town. Just to know that small town boy made it big, you know. So I would have to give it to him. He was a Toyota driver before Ford, and he signed some stuff. He visited our dealership and signed some autographs and stuff for my father when he was quite a bit younger. So Joey Logano, go with him.
Joey Logano. All right, must-have item on race day.
Chicken nuggets.
As he pulls out a fried
coffee, espresso, caffeine. Just do caffeine in general. Caffeine.
That is a good one. I think espresso, caffeine, definitely. I feel like you guys are always so intentional about finding good coffee spots nearby. At least Sydney is. Like,
yeah, my wife don't mess around. She does not mess around with her coffee spots.
Look back, and she's like, we're so like, wake up, go to the racetrack. Like, literally, like, wake up, get to the track as fast as possible.
Sleep 5 minutes before.
And we show up, and everybody's looking like this, and then you guys walk in, Starbucks or Dutch Bros or coffee. Like, you woke up early and you were intentional about getting good caffeine.
She woke up early and dragged my ass out of bed and says, "We're stopping for coffee on the way, so we're leaving like now." I'm like,
dude, that is definitely a great.
That was the highlight of her weekend was Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Bros. That was great. No, that's definitely great. I mean, coffee is just such a great source of caffeine. You don't want to get it from a Celsius or a Red Bull.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I mean, I tried the Celsius thing last year because I do drink espresso. You know, I mean, I don't drink coffee. I drink espresso at home. Used to drink coffee, but regardless, I tried Celsius last year, and sometimes I get a headache, sometimes I wouldn't. And I know, obviously, espresso is going to dehydrate you more. Coffee in general will dehydrate you more than like an energy drink. So this year, I'm gonna stick to my espresso, stick to what I know, but just obviously stay hydrated. Drink lots of water.
Drink some more water. Yeah, for sure. Last one. Dream racing event to compete in.
Ooh, dream racing event to compete in? An endurance race with the Garcia brothers.
That'll be spicy. We could do a little WRL race at Coda.
I don't know, one of those couple hour ones.
That 8 hour one, like a real 8 hour, a 10 hour, something.
I got my personal best egress time. I was with the Corolla with a little bit extra headroom, dude. I was able to put my feet on the seat and bunny hop out of the car. So when I had to do the egress test this last weekend, so we're getting out of the car in less than 6 seconds. So getting in, someone's gonna have to have some fast hands to help me get buckled. But I think with the pit stops won't be that bad. Put me in.
What are the chances that little Corolla can run a WRL race? Does it qualify for any of those categories?
Oh, I don't know WRL.
Something.
I don't know.
It's got to fit somewhere. That'd be a great car to have in that race.
You see them like long hour races with all these badass cars. So, just to drive a GT4 or GT3 car, I don't care where or with who. Obviously, the Garcia brothers, because they're like cool dudes and pretty fast. But I mean,
one just makes it look fast.
Just to drive something like that would be my goal. You know what I mean? Not necessarily to race it, but just to be able to experience that, drive something like that.
I'm sure that's in the near future. James, final thoughts. Who do you want to thank? Give us your final take, inspiration for anybody watching this that's maybe experienced something similar to what you have that is watching this right now.
Oh, thank that loud guy that just stepped in. My father, obviously, for always supporting me no matter what I wanted to do. Racing snowmobiles, riding dirt bikes, I was racing cars, even though we didn't know how to race cars or do race car things. He's been supportive of whatever I wanted to do, no matter what. So, obviously, wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. But also, thank my wife for always being supportive. Sydney for, traveling with James, my son James Jr., who was at Lime Rock at 3 weeks old when I was doing testing there. He was at Indy, I think he was, Indy's October. He was like 4 months old at Indy. So and he's been every single race. She's been super supportive and let me have the luxury and leeway of being able to take some of my time to practice and to try to take this as seriously as possible. I think that sometimes last year she even took it more seriously than me because I was just so burnt out and overwhelmed from work. I didn't even want to think about racing, and she was more excited about racing than I was, which goes to show how supportive she really was. So definitely that, and definitely my wife, dad, mom, everyone, and anyone who's watching, listening. Juan for always, you even Alex and you both have always had inspirational words for me, and especially at tougher times when shit has happened. Both of you guys, definitely thank you for being there. And anyone who's watching, any fans of mine, people that are facing with disabilities, no matter what it is, that might hinder your normal life as it once was. I mean, don't let it define you. There's other people out there that are in your position, and obviously, I look at life, as a glass half full versus half empty. It could always be worse, and I know that's you can't say that about everything, but I like to look at a lot of things that way and say it could always be worse. I'm thankful to be here today. I've been in, some plenty big wrecks where I could have been, not here today. So, just anyone that's experiencing the same issues, we adapt and we keep doing what we love, no matter what it is. We could adapt and keep doing it because someone else out there is doing things harder, more difficult. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's the ending of that motivational spiel. You know what I'm trying to say.
No.
No, James, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you so much sharing the time with us. I know we went over what we were expected to, and nonetheless, we can't thank you. And you and the entire Klimas family. Joe, if you're around there somewhere,
he just
we love you.
Yeah.
We love you. We care about you guys, and you guys are very special to us. And we hope to see you guys here soon at Coda. So definitely. Any final words for us, Alex?
No. Thank you guys for being on, and we'll see Mr. Joe at Coda, and hopefully I can smooth him a little bit over this rolling.
Well,
make a little collaboration with Pole Pace and Middletown Toyota.
Yes, this Corolla deal has been happening for a year.
I'll wrap the entire car. I'll be a walking advertising expense for you guys for the year. Just saying.
Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. I hope that I'm invited to another podcast soon, even as a
Certainly.
I would be I'm very happy to be here for you guys, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your show.
Certainly. Well, this has been episode 4 of Full Grip. We thank you guys so much for listening. If you're watching, thank you so much. We'll see you guys in the next one. Do the outro.